haven't been able to see loved ones for a long time. We're talking about business opportunity. As it happens, I'm about to get on a plane for the UK to participate in the transportation portion of the climate talks going on in Glasgow. And I just love the thought that that plane that's taking me across the pond is going to come back to the United States filled with travelers who have been waiting a long time for this opportunity. Now, this is day one. There's a lot of pent-up demand, so folks can expect that there will be long lines as this new system gets into gear. But I think a lot of people will be arriving in the U.S. with full hearts, knowing that they have that opportunity that has been made unavailable by the pandemic for so long.
There are plenty of critics who suggest that they waited longer than the science dictated they had to.
You know, you can't mess around with something as deadly as this pandemic, and we've always been led by the science, carefully weighing all of the different considerations. But I certainly believe that being able to move from a country-by-country framework, which is what we used to have, to a risk-based, traveler-based framework that really emphasizes how vaccines make people safer. I think that's the right way to go. It was done, by the way, also in partnership with a lot of the other countries in these working groups that were put together, different agencies, Homeland Security, our department, the White House, of course, and just so glad we have finally been able to get to this point.
So the infrastructure bill passed the House of Representatives with 13 Republican votes. It's a bipartisan bill. There'll be some kind of signing ceremony at the White House soon. President Biden was talking about it over the weekend, and he was also talking about the ongoing supply chain issues. I want to play some of what he said. Let's listen.
By the way, you all write for a living. I haven't seen any one of you explain supply chain very well. No, I'm not being critical. I'm being deadly earnest. I sincerely mean it. This is a confusing time.
Why is the supply chain the media's fault?
You know, I think he's pointing out how complicated and difficult it is to explain. I like to think I'm good at explaining things, and I find it incredibly difficult to account for all of the different things that are affecting our supply chains. You know, this is a private sector system, but it runs on public infrastructure. There are federal, state, and local roles. We're talking about every mode of transportation at once, and a lot of complex interactions where sometimes you see a lot of ships at anchor off of a port, and the issue might have very little to do with the ships and everything to do with the availability of truckers 1,000 miles inland. So these are intricate, complex issues, but that hasn't stopped us from taking them head on. And what's great about this infrastructure deal is even as we work the short-term issues, partnering with the private sector to try to unclog some of these issues, we also now have the tools to do so much more. You know, some of what we've been working on in our department is designed to make it easier for goods to move through the country. For example, I recently approved a grant that would go to an inland port near serving the port of Savannah in Georgia. So the idea is you get all the containers in, and if it's too difficult or complex or takes too long to sort them in the port, just move them out of the port inland to where you have more space and an easier ability to sort them to get them onto the trains and trucks. That's an example of something where the federal government has a role, but now, thanks to this bipartisan infrastructure deal, we have far more resources to do more good projects like that and have a resilient, strong supply chain for the long run.
I want to ask you something about the sort of more thematic or esoteric, right? There was a BAFO jobs report that came out Friday, if we still use the word BAFO. You have the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which now has passed both houses of Congress. These are achievements, yet Americans continue to look at the economic situation and think it's not good. Charlie Sykes wrote over the weekend, he thinks that there might be an issue that Americans can't handle optimism. Why is it that you don't think that Americans are feeling more positive developments?
Well, look, America simply has a lot going on. We've got a lot weighing on us. We're still working to emerge from this pandemic. We've seen all of these shocks, a kind of whipsawing effect, including in our economy. Also, of course, there's more to the economy than any one measure. We are so proud that the president's leadership has helped create millions and millions of jobs. We're also concerned about the effects that you're seeing, largely driven by the pandemic, on prices. And we know that a lot of people are feeling that. That's why the president puts such a priority on things like bringing down the costs that families face, partly through some of the work that we're doing to unstick supply chains, but largely through the second half of the president's economic vision, that Build Back Better plan that's going to make it more affordable to raise a child with cheaper child care, free pre-K, those tax credits that put money in people's pockets, because there are still obviously a lot of things on Americans' minds, and I don't think that's any lack of capacity for optimism. It's just this moment that we're in, but that this administration, I'm very very proud to say is pulling us through and putting us in just such a dramatically better place than we were even 1 year ago.
Finally, look, I'm the father of twins, one of whom spent a few days in the NICU after he was born. I understand that you've had a challenging couple months with your baby twins here. I just want to ask you how everyone's doing and what you've learned through this process.
Well, thanks for asking. I think no one really expects in advance to become one of those parents who knows their way around a children's hospital. But when you have such vulnerable, beautiful infants who are just completely dependent on you, and you see that the need that they have for medical care, it really, as it sounds like you've experienced and millions of Americans have experienced, it's one of those things that nothing can truly prepare you for. But what I'll say is that, thanks to not just amazing medical care, but just the amazing support of friends and family and even strangers wishing us well, we got through it. And proud and pleased to say that both of the twins are doing well. They're at home. One of them miraculously slept through the night last night. The other one very much did not. But like so many new parents, we're just overjoyed and overwhelmed and very much in love.
Well, I hate to tell you, but you're in for it. Treasury Secretary Pete Buttigieg, appreciate you being with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, we have brand new CNN reporting